Hello everyone, welcome to It's All About Economics. And today's topic is measures of central tendencies. Particularly, we'll be talking about arithmetic mean. And this topic belongs to a paper that is called Statistical Methods from Unit 1A. I'm Suraj Sharma. For more details, you can email me or you can text me. What are the objectives? So in last class we have gone through the importance of averages, and we got to know about the measures of central tendency and the properties of an ideal measure of central tendency. In this particular lecture we would be dealing with what arithmetic mean is, how we calculate arithmetic mean, the merits and demerits of arithmetic mean, and the generalization of arithmetic mean, that is weighted mean. So, what does it mean by arithmetic mean? It is the simplest and most widely used measure of mean or average, where what we do, it is simply involves taking the sum of a group of numbers, as we have shown here, x1, x2 till xn, and then we divide it by the sum of the count by the numbers used in this series. So if we are using n number of observation, we'll divide this sum by n, and here the symbol is it is called summation, and these are the summation of different xi's, where I is actually from 1 to n. Means I is equal to 1 means first observation, I is equal to 2 means second observation, and so on. Where this x bar is particularly what we call is arithmetic mean. We denote it as arithmetic mean. And in case of frequency distribution, if you have a frequency distribution of xi's, there would be some xi's and some frequencies fi's, where I is a particular observation, and fi is the frequency of the variable xi. And here what you will have to do is just you will have to multiply the frequency, corresponding frequency, with the corresponding value. You will add those frequency multiplied by values, and you will divide it by the total number of frequencies. How you can get it? As you can sum all these fi into xi, and you will divide the summation of you will divide this by summation of fi, and you will get it as this 1 by n. Here capital N is actually the sum of all the frequencies, as you can see here. So you will have to divide the summation of fi xi by total n, that is capital N, that is the summation of fi. In case of grouped or continuous frequency distribution, this x is actually the mid value of the corresponding class, and as we have already shown you that how you will calculate the mid value of a particular class. Next, we'll have an example that find the arithmetic mean of this following distribution, where we are having xi's and fi's. So we have observation such like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We have frequencies of 5, 9, 12, 17, 14, 10, and 6. What we'll have to do first is we'll have to make a table, and we'll see that how we make it. We'll have in the first column the xi's, in the second column we'll having the frequencies that is fi's, and we'll put the corresponding frequencies in front of corresponding x values, and simply we'll have to get what, as we want to know the x bar, what is the mean. So we need two things. First is we need summation of fi's, that is n, capital N, and we need summation of fi xi, and for that we'll have to multiply frequency with corresponding x values. So if you multiply 1 into 5, you will get 5, 2 into 9, 18, 3 into 12, 36, and so on. When you sum all these frequencies, you will get capital N, that is 73 here, and for summation fx you will get 299 here. And simply what you will have to do is for x bar, you will have to divide the summation fxi, that is 299 here, by 73, that is capital N, and simply you will get your arithmetic mean, that is 5.095 here. Moving ahead, if we take a case of class intervals, then what you will have to do is for this type of class intervals, you will have to calculate the mid values for x. And here the number of the students are actually the frequencies. So when you're calculating the mean marks of the students, then you will have to do first is make columns of marks, frequency, and then the midpoints. I have already told you that how you will calculate midpoint. Just you will have to add this lower and upper limit and divide it by 2. So if you add lower and upper limit, 0 plus 10 divided by 2, that is 5, 10 plus 20 divided by 2, that is 15, and so on. You get these midpoints. You just calculate the fx or summation of fx. For that you will have to calculate fi and 12 into 5, that is 60, 18 into 50, that is 270, and so on. And going ahead with the same formula for x bar, you will have to go for summation fx, that is here 2800, and summation of f, that is capital N, and it is 100 here. It means there are total number of students 100, and for x bar you will have to divide it 2800, that is summation fixi by total number of frequency, that is 100, and simply you will get the mean marks as 28 for this particular example. Moving ahead, in case of the data set is very large, and these calculations which we have shown you earlier, this become very time consuming, and the task would be very tedious. And for that, to reduce the calculations and to reduce the time and to reduce the tedious work, what we actually do, the solution is to take deviations of the given values from any arbitrary point, say A, and this arbitrary point from the sample should be a value that is somewhat in between, say, assumed mean of that particular mean, so that the deviations from the values becomes small as possible. So this deviation, how you will actually define it, this deviation di, here I are the different observations, is equal to xi minus a. So the difference or the deviation would be calculated using this formula. And then what you will have to do, you will have to calculate fi into di. Fi here is the corresponding frequencies of xi, and similarly, if you put the value of di here, it would be equal to fi into xi minus a, and if you actually open this bracket, then this would be fi into xi minus a into fi. Why I'm using this a into fi? Because here a is a constant, and it will not change over the period, over this whole calculation. Now summing both sides for our sample over I from 1 to n, and if we sum it, we'll get this. So summation of fi into di from 1 to n is equal to summation of fixi minus a into summation of fi. Why I'm taking a outside is only because it's a constant, and we do not have to go for the summation of this. We just multiply it by the summation of fi. And here you see that this summation of fixi is actually, we have taken it earlier also. This is the value and this is the corresponding frequency minus a into n. And we have already told you that summation of fi's will be equal to capital N. That is actually the sum of all the frequencies, or you can also say this is the sum of all observations. uh, Calculating more, if you get it this, if we divide it by n or the number of observations, then in this left hand side we'll get it as 1 by n summation of fi di for all n, and this is equal to 1 by n summation of fi xi for all n minus a. Here when we divide a minus n by n, the n would be cancelled out, and finally we get what? This is actually the x bar or the mean, which we have already mentioned in the last example, and this is minus a. So if you calculate for this, you will have to subtract from the mean the arbitrary point as you have chosen. And finally, if you want to get x bar from this deviations, then if you take this a to the left hand side, then here it is subtracting, here it would be an additive function, so a plus 1 by n and summation of fi di for all n. This is how you can calculate and make the calculations very easy taking the deviations. I'll let you know how you will do it. I'll take an example, and uh, for for grouped or continuous frequency distribution, if you have class intervals, then you can make the calculations more easy, and here the di or the deviation would be equal to xi minus a divided by h, not only the xi minus a. So here you are dividing it by h, and what actually here h is, it is the common magnitude of class interval. As we have shown you earlier that in this particular example here, the class interval is actually 10 in each class. So this 10 is actually h here. Now where if you multiply this h to the left hand side, then h into di would be equal to xi minus a, and proceeding further we'll be getting it as x bar equal to a plus small h by capital N and summation of fi di. This formula is very similar to the earlier one, and the only changes here is this h. And if you are having class interval, you will have to multiply your 1 by n summation of fi di to your class width or the common magnitude. Taking this simple example and calculating the mean for the following distribution, we can see that it's a grouped frequency distribution or continuous one. So we have class interval, common class interval height as h, that is 8, and these are the frequencies, corresponding frequencies. And what we actually have to do is we first put the class intervals in first column, in second column we have frequencies. We'll get the summation f here, that is capital N, and we add, if we add all these things we get 77. As you know that this is a class interval, so we'll have to calculate the midpoints, and we have calculated the midpoints using the lower limit plus upper limit, dividing it by 2 for corresponding class intervals. Here we'll have to calculate the di first, and simply we'll take di as xi minus a dividing it by h. So here what we'll have to do is first we'll have to decide what should be this a, and for that particular thing we take a as 28 somehow, this midpoint here, and choosing from this midpoint arbitrary chosen number is 28. We're taking 28 here so that the calculations can be reduced, and here h is 8. So if we calculate for this class interval, the di would be xi, means here 4 minus 28, that is minus 24, and dividing it by h, that is 8. So minus 24 dividing it by 8, that is actually minus 3. And similarly we can calculate for this 12 minus 28 dividing it by 8 and minus 2. For 20 we get minus 1. For 28 itself it is 28 minus 28 dividing it by h, that is 8. So we get 0, 1 and 2. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to calculate f into d, because for this formula uh, of calculating mean for this particular frequency distribution, we'll have to calculate summation fi di. So fi di would be the frequency and corresponding di. So 8 into minus 3, that is 24. 7 into minus 2, that is 14, and so on. Keep in your mind that these negative signs would be should be there. You cannot avoid these negative signs, and this is how we calculate summation f I di, that is we got it as minus 25. You will further you will do calculations as x bar is equal to that arbitrarily chosen mean, that is 28, plus the height or the class interval common magnitude, that is 8, dividing it by summation f, that is n, it is 20, it is 77 here, and multiplying it by minus 25, that is summation fi di, and finally we get x bar as 28 plus minus 2.6, and finally we get x bar is equal to 25.4. So the mean for this frequency distribution is 25.4. As we have taken the deviations, the calculations become very easy, and now it's not a tedious task anymore. Now, some properties of arithmetic mean. First one is that it is the algebraic sum of the deviations of a set of values from their arithmetic mean is actually 0. As you can see here, that these are the deviations from values to the mean, that is arithmetic mean x bar. So if the numbers x1, x2, and x and so on have mean x bar, then the deviations, the sum of the deviations would be equal to 0. If it's a frequency distribution, then we'll have to multiply the frequency, the corresponding frequency also here. So this is actually the one way to interpret this properties, as saying that the numbers to the left of the mean are balanced by the numbers to the right of the mean, because the mean is actually the center part of that sample. So the mean is the only single number for which the residuals, these are the residuals, sum to 0. So this is the first property of arithmetic mean. The second property is this: the sum of the squares of the deviations of a set of values is minimum when we take it about the mean. So if we are choosing that arbitrarily chosen number a as arithmetic mean, then this z would be minimum. So how we can actually interpret it is that like this: if it is required to use a single number as a typical value for a set of known numbers like x1, x2, and so on, then the arithmetic mean of the numbers does this best in the sense of minimizing the sum of squared deviations from the typical value. The sum of all these residuals squared is actually, it follows that the sample mean is also the best single predictor in the sense of having the lowest root mean squared error. So if it is the arithmetic mean of a population of numbers is desired, then the estimation of it that is unbiased is the arithmetic mean of a sample drawn from the population. The third property is actually it is about composite series. So if we have the different k composite series, and we have the arithmetic means for those k different series and of different sizes ni, then the composite mean can be calculated, and this is one of the property, and you can calculate this by using this particular formula, that is, this is the x bar is the mean of composite series. And how you can calculate it is as you will just have to do, you will have to add all the observations, and that is summation ni, and you will have to get the summation of ni xi bar. Ni xi bar. Xi bar means the different means of different series. So you will have to multiply the different means or corresponding mean with the corresponding uh, size and add all those. So summation of ni xi bar, and you will have to divide it by the summation of ni means all the observations, and this is how you get the composite mean. And if we take a simple example here, the average salary of male employees in a firm was rupees 15,000 per month, and for the females it was 12,000 per month. The mean salary, we know that the employees were getting 1400 per month. This was the mean, uh, composite mean. Now find the percentage of male and female employees in that particular company. Now what we have to do is let n1 and n2 be the number of male and female employees respectively. That is what we'll have to find out. And it's given that the mean of the first group, that is male, is 15,000, and the mean for the second group, that is female, is 12,000, and the composite mean is 14,000. So how we get the composite mean is actually we get it as the number of observations in the first group, multiplying it by the mean of that group, plus the number of observations in the second group, multiplied uh, by the mean of the second group, and dividing it by the total number of observations, means the male and female employees both. So we just put the numbers in their places, and if we take this to the left hand side, this would be n1 plus n2 into the composite mean, that is 14,000, is equal to 15,000 into n1. Here 15,000 is the average salary of males, and n1 is the number of observations, or the male employees, number of male employees, and similarly this is plus 12,000 into n2, female number of employees, into their mean salary. And further calculations can be done, and you can get it, the ratio of number of employees of male to female, and that is 2000 divided by 1000, that is 2 is to 1. It means the percentage of male and female employees is actually, this is the two-third. Males are two-third and females are one-third in that particular company. Now, merits and demerits. Talking about the merits and demerits of arithmetic mean, first we'll talk about the merits, that it is rigidly defined, as we have already shown you that how it can be calculated very rigidly. It is very easy to calculate and understand. It is based on all observations. We use all observations in the calculation of arithmetic mean. It is amenable to algebraic calculations, as we can calculate the composite mean, and there are some properties of arithmetic mean also. Now this is affected least by sampling fluctuations. This is all about the merits of arithmetic mean. Very simple. You can calculate it, you can easily understand it, but the demerits are also there. With the simplest calculation, it cannot be determined by inspection or cannot be located graphically. You cannot inspect it plotting a graph and so on. The second thing is, demerit is it cannot be used for qualitative variables. So if you are going for arithmetic mean, it means you are having a continuous variable, or that variable that is actually having the numerical properties. For qualitative variables, like for sex, like for gender, for education, you cannot calculate mean. The next thing is, it cannot be obtained if even a single observation is missed or lost, because you are using all the observations for the calculation of arithmetic mean. So if a single variable, if a single observation is missed out somehow, you cannot calculate arithmetic mean. The only way is to get out of it is lose, or take out that particular observation. Now, affected very much by extreme values, as I already mentioned, that if you are having very much fluctuations in your observations, then this arithmetic mean would be actually affected by the extreme values, the lowest one and the highest one. It may lead to wrong conclusions if details of data are not given properly, and this is very much related to this property or this demerit, because it is affected very much by extreme values. Uh, the next thing is it cannot be calculated if extreme class is open, because if extreme classes are open, then you would not be having the mid values of that particular class, and then further calculations would not be there. So you cannot calculate arithmetic mean if the extreme classes are open. The last but not the least, in an extremely asymmetrical, or that is called a skewed distribution, that is not normal, arithmetic mean is not found suitable. So we'll have to very carefully use this particular uh, uh, measure of central tendency, that is arithmetic mean. Now, further moving ahead to a generalization, that is weighted mean, and it is actually very much related to the like we have already done that the calculations with the frequencies, and here in place of frequencies we actually use the weights. And why we actually use these weights is only because of the level of importance given to each and every observation or item. So if we are actually having some a sample of observations, then it doesn't mean always that every item in that sample is having the equal importance. In reality, this may not be so. So in a distribution, some items may be more important than the others, and we call it like some items may have more weightage than the others. In such cases, proper weightage should be given before we calculate arithmetic mean. For a simple example, if you want to have an idea about consumer price index and changes in it, then simple mean of prices of the commodities consumed will not do. So since all the items and commodities are not equally important for a consumer, like wheat, rice, pulses, these are more important, and having a big part in the consumption, and the consumption of these are very important. If we consider or we compare it with cigarettes, tobacco, or confectionery, or the less important items. What we do is we give accordingly the weightage, and we attach these weightage to particular observations, and we define this as weighted mean. So weighted mean can be calculated using this formula, where in place of Fi we actually have Wi, means the corresponding weight to the xi's. Having a simple example, like find the simple and weighted arithmetic mean of the first n natural numbers, the weights being the corresponding numbers. So here the weights are actually the corresponding numbers. So if we are having the natural numbers as this 1, 2, 3, 4, so on till n, then we will be having the weight attached to it as 1, 2, 3, because it's already mentioned that weights being the corresponding numbers. So if we multiply wi into xi, what we will get is actually the square of 1, square of 2, square of 3, square of n, and so on, because here n into n is n square, 2 into 2 is 2 square, 1 into 1 is 1 square. And for that we know that we'll have to calculate it. First we'll have to know first the addition of first n natural numbers, and as we know that if we add up 1 to n, we'll get n into n plus 1 dividing it by 2. These are the properties of natural numbers. And if we add a squared of first n natural numbers, we'll get it as n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 dividing it by 6. So what we actually have to do is we'll have to sum all x's and to divide it by n, and for x bar, so simple mean can be calculated using this. So sum of this and dividing it by n, because here are n observations. Sum will be this n plus 1, dividing it by 2, and then again dividing it by n. So this is actually n will be cancelled out, and n plus 1 by 2. This is the simple mean. Now if we want to calculate the weighted mean, then for that we'll have to give proper weightage to all the xi's, and for that we'll have to calculate summation of wi xi, and we'll divide it by summation of wi's. So wi xi is actually this series, and if we add up the square of first n natural numbers, we'll get this n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1, dividing it by 6, into why we are multiplying it, because we have reciprocated. Here the sum of first n natural numbers is n plus 1, dividing it by 2. We actually flipped it, and it has become 2 divided it by n into n plus 1, and we'll use multiplication here, not the division. Now further, this n plus 1 and into n would be cancelled out with this. 2 can be cancelled out with 1 by 3, and we are left with 2n plus 1, dividing it by 3. So this is how we calculate the weighted mean. So thank you so much for being with me. In the next class or next lecture, we'll be dealing with the next measure of central tendency, that is median.